Is there a crueler irony in baseball than watching your homegrown star walk out the door, only to replace him with the very player who spent years tormenting you from the opposing dugout? The Toronto Blue Jays are staring down a reality that seemed unthinkable just months ago. Bo Bichette, the electric shortstop who has been the pulse of this franchise since his dazzling debut in 2019, might be playing his final innings in a Blue Jays uniform. And as the front office scrambles to prepare for life after Bo, one name keeps surfacing in the whispers and war rooms across baseball: Brandon Lowe. Yes, that Brandon Lowe. The same Brandon Lowe who has spent 8 seasons with the Tampa Bay Rays, making Blue Jays pitchers look foolish, crushing home runs into the Rogers Center upper deck, and turning division matchups into personal highlight reels. The man who has haunted Toronto's dreams is now being pitched as the solution to their nightmare. And honestly, it might be genius. Or it might be desperation dressed up as strategy. Let's find out which. Blue Jays analyst Edward Ung of Jays Journal didn't mince words when he urged Toronto to pursue Lowe if Bichette departs. His argument is simple but compelling. Lowe can hit, he can hit for power, and when healthy, he's an elite offensive force at second base. Over a full 162-game pace, Lowe averages 90 runs scored, 34 home runs, and 97 RBIs. Those are not just good numbers. Those are franchise-altering numbers. Those are the kind of numbers that turn a middle-of-the-pack offense into a juggernaut. And for a Blue Jays team that has struggled to find consistent power production outside of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Lowe represents a tantalizing upgrade. He's a left-handed bat with pop, a proven commodity in the American League East, and a player who already knows how to succeed in the pressure cooker of division rivalries. On paper, this makes all the sense in the world, but here's where the fairy tale hits a wall, and that wall is made of medical reports, injury timelines, and the brutal reality of aging in professional sports. Brandon Lowe is 31 years old. In his 8-year MLB career, he has played more than 110 games only twice. Twice in 8 years. That's not a red flag. That's a flashing neon sign with sirens blaring. The man is undeniably talented, but his body has betrayed him time and time again. Back injuries, leg injuries, oblique strains. Lowe has spent more time on the injured list than some players spend in the minor leagues, and the Blue Jays are supposed to bet their future on the hope that he can suddenly, miraculously stay healthy for a full season. That's not a plan. That's a prayer. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself before you answer in the comments. Would you trade for a player who has only played more than 110 games twice in 8 years, knowing that your entire season could collapse if he goes down in May? Because that's the gamble here. The Blue Jays are already dealing with uncertainty around Bichette's future, the pressure to sign Kyle Tucker, the need to upgrade the bullpen, and the existential question of whether this core can actually win a championship. Adding a player with Lowe's injury history doesn't reduce risk. It multiplies it. Sure, when he's healthy, he's a beast. Last season, Lowe hit 256 with 31 home runs and 83 RBIs. He was an all-star. He was productive. He was everything you want from a second baseman. But he also played in 134 games, which is great by his standards, but still leaves 28 games on the table. And in a division as brutal as the AL East, where every single game matters, 28 games could be the difference between a playoff berth and another winter of disappointment. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: cost. According to reports, Lowe is in the final year of his contract and is owed $11.5 million in 2026. That's a bargain in today's market, especially for a player of his caliber. And because he's a pending free agent, the Tampa Bay Rays are motivated to move him rather than risk losing him for nothing. This is where the Blue Jays could get creative. They have a surplus of outfielders. They have mid-tier prospects who could entice Tampa Bay's notoriously shrewd front office. A package centered around one of Toronto's excess outfielders and a B-level prospect might be enough to get the deal done. It's not a king's ransom. It's not a franchise-altering trade. It's a calculated risk with a relatively low price tag. And if Lowe stays healthy, if he produces at the level he's capable of, it could be one of the steals of the offseason. But here's the part that keeps me up at night, and it should keep you up too. What if this is just a band-aid on a bullet wound? What if the Blue Jays are so desperate to avoid the optics of losing Bichette for nothing that they're willing to settle for a flawed replacement instead of pursuing a long-term solution? Brandon Lowe is not Bo Bichette. He doesn't have the same defensive range. He doesn't have the same speed. He doesn't have the same star power or marketability. And while his bat is undeniably dangerous, he's not the kind of player who can carry a lineup night after night. He's a complementary piece, a supporting actor, not the leading man. And if the Blue Jays are going to replace Bichette, they need to be honest about what they're getting. They're not getting a superstar. They're getting a very good player with significant question marks. And let's not forget the psychological element here. Brandon Lowe has spent his entire career making Blue Jays fans miserable. He's the guy who crushes walk-off home runs in September. He's the guy who goes 3 for 4 with 2 doubles in a crucial series. He's the guy who has owned the Rogers Center like it's his personal playground. And now, the Blue Jays want to bring him in and ask him to be the hero instead of the villain? That's a fascinating dynamic. Can Lowe flip the script? Can he channel that same energy and production into helping Toronto instead of destroying them? Or will the pressure of playing for a fan base that has spent years cursing his name be too much to handle? According to MLB insider John Morosi, Lowe's name has been a popular one in trade discussions, and the chances of a deal involving him have increased this week. Multiple teams are asking about him, which means the Blue Jays are not operating in a vacuum. They have competition, and if another team swoops in and offers Tampa Bay a better package, Toronto could be left scrambling for alternatives. The market for second baseman is not deep. The options are limited, and if the Blue Jays miss out on Lowe, they could be forced into a much less appealing Plan B or Plan C. That's the risk of waiting, of hesitating, of trying to play it safe. In a market this competitive, hesitation is death. Now let's talk about the other side of this equation, Bo Bichette. Because as much as we're discussing Brandon Lowe, the real story here is whether Bichette is actually leaving. After the Blue Jays lost in Game 7 of the World Series, Bichette said he'd like to be back. General Manager Ross Atkins praised him at the winter meetings and confirmed that the sides are still talking. Bichette has spent his entire MLB career with the Blue Jays. He's a 2-time All-Star who has led the American League in hits twice. He's a fan favorite, a homegrown talent, and a player who has given everything to this organization. The idea of him wearing another uniform is painful, almost unthinkable, but it's also very real. And here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to say out loud. The Blue Jays might be better off letting Bichette walk. Not because he's not talented, not because he's not valuable, but because his defensive limitations, his injury history, and his market value don't align with what Toronto needs right now. If the Blue Jays can replace Bichette's offensive production with a cheaper, more defensively sound option like Lowe, and then use the money they save to invest in pitching or a superstar like Kyle Tucker, they might actually improve the roster overall. It's cold. It's calculated. It's the kind of decision that makes fans angry and front offices successful. And it's exactly the kind of decision that Ross Atkins might have to make. But let's not pretend this is easy. Letting Bichette walk and replacing him with Brandon Lowe is a gamble wrapped in uncertainty and tied with a bow of hope. It's betting that Lowe stays healthy, that his production translates, that the fan base accepts him, and that the chemistry in the clubhouse doesn't implode. It's betting that Andres Gimenez can handle shortstop full-time, that the pitching staff improves, and that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. stays locked in. It's betting that everything goes right, because if even one piece falls out of place, the entire plan collapses. So here's where we are. The Blue Jays are at a crossroads. They can bring back Bichette, pay him what he's worth, and hope that a position change and a renewed commitment to defense can unlock his full potential. Or they can let him walk, trade for Brandon Lowe, and roll the dice on a player who has the talent to be elite, but the injury history to be a disaster. Either way, This decision will define the next era of Blue Jays baseball. Either way, the stakes couldn't be higher. If you've been riding this emotional roller coaster with me, if you feel the weight of this decision the way I do, then you're exactly the kind of fan this team needs right now. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of this journey. Join the family. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Because every rumor, every signing, every move is going to matter. And we're going to break it all down together with the passion and intensity this moment deserves. Now, here's my final question for you, and I want you to really think about this. If you had to choose right now, would you rather the Blue Jays re-sign Bo Bichette and move him to second base, or trade for Brandon Lowe and hope he stays healthy for a full season?